Well, one veteran BBC reporter says it's the worst crisis at the BBC in 50 years. Alison Stewart-Allen is the Director of International Marketing Partners, which specialises in corporate diplomacy. I asked her if other global companies will be watching events with a cautious eye.
I think business leaders are recognizing that, they're potentially much more exposed than ever before, mostly because we have a proliferation of social media, which means that everything that you do inside an organization, though you'd like to keep it confidential and private, unfortunately, the risk is now that your employees can tweet, they can blog, they can broadcast from their desktop. So while you're trying to contain a potential crisis or upset in an enterprise, you really have to be extremely strict in terms of what you instruct your employees to do and not do, and try to get them to comply. It's about leadership, really.
Why do media companies keep getting caught out when they should know more about this than anyone else?
Well, that's the greatest irony. It's the shoemaker's kids never have shoes syndrome. And you would have thought that a media company would know how to manage media.
It's their business.
It is, but then again, it's how can you be objective about your own enterprise when you're within it? You can't heal yourself easily because you're inside. What you really need to be doing is getting an outside objective perspective and outside advice because you're too close to the situation.
So consultants that can come in and say this is what potentially could be seen as a story.
Consultants or anybody who is friendly but an outsider. You need the outside perspective because it's just much too difficult when you're inside because you're biased.
Have you watched this story unfold and criticised the BBC in the way that some other people have, saying that whilst they are doing a lot of the right things and they seem to be responsible in what they're doing, they're just constantly playing catch-up ever since that very first statement when they said, actually, we've looked into this and we don't think there is anything to investigate?
Well, any organization, whether it's the BBC or lots of others, need to recognize that you need to be proactive and preemptive. So rather than just shut down a line of inquiry, the better thing to do is to actually come forward and say, look, we are inquiring and we're pursuing this. Even though it may lead to nothing, we're still investigating. And that's actually the right response because it demonstrates not only to your employees internally, but to stakeholders outside the enterprise that you're taking it seriously and that you're not just going to shut down dissonant voices that don't agree with your point of view. So it's quite important that you communicate openness.
And what about the BBC as a brand? It's a famous brand, one of the world's most famous brands, and people like giving it a kick when it's down because it's got so many competitors. Do you think there's an element of that as well? People aren't being entirely fair?
Oh, I think in any competitive marketplace, whether it's the BBC or Coca-Cola or any big global brand, people will want to, and competitors especially, will want to make sure that, that there's a little bit of nuanced, maybe there's some truth, there's no smoke without fire suppositions here. I think actually what it boils down to is the integrity of the enterprise, making sure that it's communicating, make sure that it's taking action, making sure that it's open and transparent. I think those, regardless of what industry the enterprise is in, those are the things that get things done.